Satchidananda Swarupam. So it is only one expressed in two different ways depending upon the medium of expression. So the local medium of the body, mind, intellect, where the reflection of consciousness in the local buddhi, and that is expression now is the jiva or the local entity, and the same consciousness as though reflected in the total mind or total maya, and that's called Paramatma. So consciousness is only one, reflections can be many depending on the medium of reflections. And now what exactly is Atma is being propounded. We cannot say what exactly is Atma, because Atma is a subject, that is I am. I am cannot be objectified as I am this. Only through other process indirectly I had to indicate, or scripture indicates the nature of Atma. And here we are taking this, the sloka 131 says, Yasya sannidhi matrena dehendriya manodhiyaha vishayeshu kriyeshu vartante prerita eva. So it says, Yasya sannidhi matrena, from the point of pure Satchidananda, pure consciousness is all pervading and infinite. From the point of that, there is not even a creation also. But as though there is a creation, and the creation is only a reflection of the totality in the reflecting medium, and the reflecting medium itself is created through the process of what we say Panchabhutas and so on, subtle elements and the gross elements. The subtle elements form the Sukshma Buddhi, and the Sukshma Buddhi has a capacity to reflect consciousness, and by reflecting it acts though it is a conscious entity. As we gave an example of, the moon acts as though or appears as though a luminous entity by reflection of the sunlight. Same way the mind acts as though or behaves or expresses as a conscious entity because of the reflected consciousness, which is called Chidabhasa. Consciousness has nothing to do with it, but the very presence of it, Yasya sannidhi matrena, by its mere presence of it, it gets reflected, because the light has the tendency to reflect whenever there is a reflecting medium. This is the light of consciousness is getting reflected in the reflecting medium, which is the subtle body. So Yasya sannidhi matrena, and from buddhi its reflection, and buddhi to mind, the reflection pass on essentially, and the mind to a more grosser, which is essentially deham, indriyam, and so on. So deha, indriya, manodhiyaha, all this from the gross body to a prana, indriyas, the sense organs, and manas, the mind, and dhiya, the buddhi, all are becoming activated as though by the presence of this. Just like the electricity activates the equipment, and the equipment nature of the expression depends on the nature of the equipment. In a fan, it rotates and produces air. In the light, it gives out, in the bulb, it gives out the light. So depending upon the nature of the equipment, the same electricity is expressing out. In the same way, consciousness, as though, quote unquote, is getting reflected in the buddhi, and from buddhi the mind, from mind to the body, and depending upon this, in each case reflecting medium, it is expressing. So each one, the body is functioning, all the physiological systems, everything is functioning, and the temperature is maintained, the digestive system, the excretion system, all physiological functions are functioning, and that is because of this consciousness. So even though from the point of consciousness it is not doing anything, it is akartaham abhoktaham, I am never a doer or an enjoyer, but its mere presence of it, things are getting done, and that is what is the nature of Prakriti. And therefore it says Yasya sannidhi matrena deha indriya manodhiyaha vishayeshu swakriyeshu vartante preritava, as though propelled by some external forces, there are things becoming active. The matter, which is just nothing but inert, and this is just carbohydrates, minerals and all that, and able to function. I can talk, I can see, I can express, I can all karmendriyas, I can even lift my hand, is because of the presence of that life. But the life is the expression of the reflected consciousness that activates the equipments depending upon the nature of the equipment. If the equipments are conducive enough to express it. In the case of all other inert things like stones and all that, the equipments are not conducive to express the consciousness, but only the existent is only expressed as this is, this is, this is. So all objects of the world isness is nothing but the existence, and existence is nothing but the Sat, and Sat is nothing but the nature of the absolute reality. So all this now we had to see, because it has become many, so I cannot see consciousness, I cannot see the Atma, but what I need to do is through these expressions, because it's already conditioned in the equipment, so it is a conditioned consciousness, Chidabhasa, has to discover, because the wrong notions are in the mind only, and the mind needs to get educated. And therefore mind has to know that I am only the mind, and I am not the conscious entity. Conscious entity is coming as a reflection. I am only reflecting that beautiful consciousness, and because of that the whole thing is functioning. So through functioning only I have to recognize the original one. So if I want to see my face, what should I do? So I want to see my face. So I go to in front of a mirror and I see a mirror, and in the mirror I see my pratibhimbam, my reflection, and using the reflection I have to see my face. Otherwise I cannot see myself. In the same way I had to see a reflection and the reflections and activities, and through the activities I have to recognize that which propels these activities. Therefore this is an indicative or lakshyartha. Vedanta uses this as for the mind to contemplate on it, to recognize I am that absolute Satchidananda Swarupam. Because of my presence only this whole functioning. So yes, Sadi, it's not presence of something, it is presence of my own self. The whole body is activating. So I can see as a Sakshi, the witnesses, as the functioning of the body itself, because it's in my presence only everything is done, even though I myself is not doing anything by myself. So that has to be understood here. So we go to the next sloka, that is 132, and the same thought is being explained, because these are all meditative. They are indicative to indicate for every function, every physiological as well as biological functions that are happening are only indicating that, because it's a life principle is coming, and the life is nothing but the expression of that pure absolute Satchidananda Swarupam. So in the next sloka 132, let's chant. Ahankaradi dehanta vishayascha sukhadayaha vejyante ghatavajjena nityabodha swarupina. Ahankaradi dehanta vishayascha sukhadayaha vejyante ghatavajjena nityabodha swarupina. So ahankaradi, ahankara, adi means from the ahankara, ego. So what is ego? Ego is I am this, is the ego. So essence of ego is nothing but I am this. So we mentioned there are two types of ahankara. So the common usage of ahankara is very ahankari. That means he is very proud of himself. That is a normal usage of ahankaram. But Vedantic ahankaram is, this is the essential part of the life itself, where I am this is required in order to transact. Even a jnani has to say I am this, or I am happy, I am sleepy, I am hungry, because the body is having a hunger. The functions of the body is identified, and when he is transacting with that, I had to come down to that level for transactional purposes, for communication purposes. So even when we say Shankaracharya says I am writing this bhashyam, and he invokes the God's grace in order to complete that work. Therefore when say I am writing, who is that I am? That is the ahankara. But there knowing very well he is taking the role there, so you can play the role of an ahankari or whatever the role is required for transactional purposes, knowing very well it is a role and your true nature is your Satchidananda Swarupam. That's what exactly a Jivan Mukta is. So here ahankara means I am this. So there are two components which are together all the time. So when I say I am this, I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect. So identification that this keeps changing, where I am is the same and identification with the different equipments is changing, but that is for the transactional purposes. But when I don't know who my nature is, that I have taken as a real, and that becomes a problem. So ahankara is dehanta. So starting from ahankara, the ego, that subtle, using the intellect part, as well as the body, I am this body, wherever the body is there, I am there, and I am here and I am not there. That's because the body is there. So therefore identification with the body as I am, that's also ahankara. In a way that is dehanta, deham anta. So vishayascha sukadayahu, and all the things that I see through the equipments, all the things that I know are coming because of through perceptual process and through pramanas, through transactions. So all my karmendriyas and jnanendriyas are going after to perform actions with the vishayeshu, with the objects. So dealing with the objects is through these equipments, and therefore even the perception and dealing all coming through because of that. Sukhadayaha. Sukham, Dukkham, Manam, Apamanam, all those modifications of the mind depending upon my ragadveshas or likes and dislikes when I am transacting with the vishayas, when I am transacting with the objects. If in transactions, I like that object, I am happy, I don't like the object, I am unhappy. So these modifications of the mind is because of the ragadveshas, and that is also being known because of the presence of the life itself, and because of the consciousness, and I am conscious of the state of mind which is happy and unhappy, which has likes and dislikes, is also I am conscious of, and therefore that because of which I am, these all things happen, is the pure I am, aham. So vishayastu sukadayaha Vedyante, all these things are known only because I am a conscious entity. How do I know this is a chair? Because I know there is a chair. So consciousness that I am, existence of the object expressed as a thought in my mind are joined together for me to be conscious of the existence of the object, Vishayas. So this consciousness has to come in every knowledge, and therefore so this is Vedyante gatavat ena. So this is known from all things, from all perceptions and all knowledge itself. So Vedyante gatavat, like a pot, etc. Nitya bodha swarupina. But what's my nature itself? My nature is Nitya bodham. I am pure knowledge itself, because I know this, I know this. So knowledge of is coming because I am pure knowing principle. The knowing principle cannot be known because it cannot be an object of knowledge. But this Nitya bodha, it is the knowledge that occurs because of I am the nature of the jnanam itself, and therefore Vedyante gatavad yena Nitya bodha swarupina. It is of the nature of pure knowledge, and that is called how Brahman is also defined in the Taittiriya Upanishad. It says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. It is the nature of pure Satyam, pure existence, and Jnanam is, that means it is Chaitanya Swarupam, and that is the Satyam Jnanam Anantam, that is infinite, or Anantam is same as Anandam, because limitless alone is happiness. So that's a Swarupa Lakshanam. It is the intrinsic nature is being defined, and that's how the explanation of Nitya Bodham. Nitya Bodham means it is of the nature of eternal happiness, or of the nature of pure consciousness, and that is Swarupam. Swarupa means it is an intrinsic nature. Here we may divert a little bit. What exactly is a Swarupam? So in the in the Bhashya of Shankara in the Taittiriya Upanishad for explaining this Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So the statement is, it is the nature of Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam. And he says, because these are called Swarupa Lakshana. So there are two Lakshanas for understanding wise. They are called Tatastha Lakshana and Swarupa Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshana means incidental qualifications. So incidental qualifications are required to identify a particular thing, but those are not intrinsic. So they are only incidental for reference at that time. A classical example is that, in America all the houses look alike, and one wants to say, what's John's house? Says, then looking at it, there is a John's house. He says, I don't see which one. All are looking alike. And suddenly when a crow sits on that, says, you see the crow sitting there? That is John's house. Now John's house is being identified by Tatastha Lakshanam, incidental qualification. What is incidental qualification? A crow sitting there. Not that next time you want to see where is John's house and let me see where a crow is going to sit. That is not a John's house. In this particular case, whatever that house, I am using that as a means to identify what that is. That's called Tatastha Lakshanam. And the scripture uses that when you define that yato va imani bhutani jayante ena jatani jivanti yat prayam tabisham vishanti tad vijnasasva tad brahmeti. What's a Brahma? That because of which the whole universe came, by which it is sustained and into which it goes back. And that's how the Brahman is defined, and this is creation, and this is only Tatastha Lakshanam because it's not intrinsic nature of Brahman to create. Because Brahman cannot undergo any modification. Therefore, we use this because it's convenient. We say, how did the creation come? Oh, that came from the Brahman. Where is Brahman? He is also the Brahman or the material cause also. He is not only the Upadana Karana, he is not only Nimitta Karana, not only the intrinsic cause, but also the material cause also. Therefore, we use that as a Tatastha Lakshana. So in the Brahma Sutra, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now therefore inquire into Brahman. So what is Brahman? Janma Jasya Yataha. So he uses a Tatastha Lakshana because that's more convenient for people to know who is that. Janma means that because of which the whole creation came, by which it is sustained and into which it goes back. That is Brahman. So from there it came. So the cause for all this is Brahman. Even though Brahman is causeless and Brahman cannot cause anything also. But yet this is called Tatastha Lakshanam, incidental qualification. But what is a Swarupa Lakshana? Swarupa Lakshana is, for those who are mathematically oriented, it's called necessary and sufficient qualification to define an object. So necessary and sufficient also, and that is Swarupa Lakshanam. For example, if I say sugar is sweet. So sweetness of a sugar is a necessary qualification but not sufficient qualification. If it is a sugar, it has to be sweet. But if it is sweet, it need not be sugar. So for sufficient qualification, a converse has to work. That means if it is sweet, it has to be sugar only. Then it becomes a Swarupa Lakshanam. What is that sweet? Because if it is a sweet, it can be, nowadays we have all sorts of things which are not sugar but sweet. So it need not be sugar if it is sweet. But if it is sugar has to be sweet. It's a necessary but not sufficient condition. So what is a necessary and sufficient condition? For example, water. What is necessary and sufficient? Say H2O is a necessary and sufficient condition for defining a water. If it is water, it has to be H2O. If it is H2O, it has to be water. There are no two ways around it. Therefore, that becomes a Swarupam, means intrinsic structure. But in the case of all objects here, they don't have Swarupa of themselves because they are made up of parts, and therefore H2O, because it's a combination of H and O, and then you have to go into Swarupa of H and Swarupa of O, but each one again is bonded in terms of some other materials, so you can keep on dividing it without end. So, but in the case of Brahman being infinite, the Swarupa Lakshanam and his consciousness is Swarupa Lakshanam. Existence is Swarupa Lakshanam. Anantatvam or Brahmatvam or infiniteness is its Swarupa Lakshanam. Therefore, it is both ways. It is, if it is consciousness, it has to be Brahman. If it is a Brahman, it has to be consciousness. There are no two ways around it. Therefore, the scripture says, Prajnanam Brahma. Consciousness is Brahman. A converse definition is provided because that means wherever there is a consciousness, it has to be Brahman. Wherever there is a H2O, it has to be water only. That becomes a Swarupa Lakshanam. So scripture uses a Swarupa Lakshanam to define what's Brahman. So Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma are Swarupa Lakshanam. Shankara says they are Swarupam because Antatvad, because they are infinite or it's infinite. So infinite, so existence is infinite and infinite is Brahman, and there cannot be, existence cannot be finite, and therefore it is its intrinsic nature, and consciousness is its intrinsic nature. Even though consciousness, existence are expressed differently depending upon the nature of expression of the medium, because of the reflecting medium may not have the capacity to express everything, but from the point of Brahman, it is a Swarupa Lakshanam. Therefore, it is Swarupinaha. It is intrinsic nature, Nitya Bodhaha. It is of the nature of knowledge. So whenever there is a knowledge is occurring, therefore there is a consciousness has to be involved. Therefore that is nothing but Brahman. So how do I know Brahman? How do I recognize Brahman? Whenever I am conscious of anything, know that there is a consciousness, and that means that part is, you say, I am the consciousness, that means you are Brahman. So statement automatically follows because that is a Swarupa Lakshanam. Has to be understood. So how can I be Brahman? That means you are identifying myself not with the consciousness, but what you are conscious of, only a reflected consciousness you are identifying, and say I am not Brahman. So one has to be clear in terms of what is being pointed out as Swarupanaha. We'll continue with this after the next talk. We'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.